Everybody, Mo here, and today we're going to be why does every video start with the same like 6 words, man? You can just like overlay all my videos and have them all start the exact same. Hey everybody, Mo here. I don't know. Anyways, we're looking at new cards. We're looking at the is it Spiritforged or Spirit Reforged? That's a great question. It is Spiritforged. Okay, so Spiritforged. Set 2 of Riftbound is starting to get revealed. It comes out in China in December, actually, so it comes out like fairly soon. We should be getting a whole lot of cards being revealed probably after Houston, which is the first non-Chinese regional. They call it the first English regional. So we should be getting a lot more cards, or a more consistent cadence of releases coming up probably around Houston or a little bit after that, because I don't know what the actual date of launch is in China, but probably less than a month away would be my guess, or right at about a month away. So we should be getting a lot of cards, but we do have some. We have our first 5 legends. We have some cards to go with them. We have some equipment, which is super sick. We have keywords. We have a whole bunch of stuff. Some stuff that we think is broken, some stuff that we don't know what it even does yet. So it's gonna be fun. If you guys enjoy videos like this, make sure to hit the like button and let me know below what legend you're looking forward to and what color combination looks insane to you. So let's go over the legends that have been revealed first. We'll save this guy for last because he's the one that everybody is really excited for. We'll start from right to left. So right to left, we have Battle Mistress Civer Legend. So she's purple-orange, so she's the same colors as Miss Fortune. Something I want to note before we get into these is every single... There will be 12 new legends, from my understanding. Is there's 12 new legends. We will get the same color combination effectively every single set. They aren't going to be doing... I think they called them enemy colors, or enemy pairings, which is basically the opposite color. So, for example, orange and blue. We're not going to be getting an orange and blue legend or orange and blue deck for a long time. Same with yellow and purple, etc., because those kind of break the game. There are a lot of interactions there that should not exist, or there's going to have to be a lot of more cards in the card pool to kind of make the interactions that we already have just in set 1 feel a little bit more balanced, right? Whenever you look at these color combinations, you kind of have to think, why would I ever play this legend or this legend over the other one we have, which is Miss Fortune? You think about maybe whatever decks you can play as Miss Fortune. Do they work as Civer? Obviously, there's a whole new mechanic and a few mechanics coming into the game. So, of course, every deck isn't... I don't think we're going to get this thing where it's like, Miss Fortune is the best orange deck because Miss Fortune plays Aurora, and Miss Fortune Aurora is purple-orange, and purple-orange is broken. Therefore, every purple-orange leader we get has to be, an Aurora deck, and they have to play Aurora as good as Miss Fortune, or they're bad. Don't think of it that way. Think of the different things you can do in these colors that maybe, Civer would enable, that Miss Fortune doesn't, etc. So, with that little, PSA out the way, I always like to let people know that when we look at new cards, especially when we look at decks like this, where cards can play what other decks already can. What does she do? She says, when you recycle a rune, you may exhaust me to play a gear token exhausted. When 1 or more units die, ready me. Before we go over this, one thing, sorry for highlighting, I'm going to try to stop. Stop it, you need some help. Yes, I know. But, oops, sorry. I want to go over what gold tokens are. This is very important to basically the entire set right now that we've seen. Gold token, it is a gear. It comes in, they all come in exhausted for the thing that people are kind of going crazy about, these infinite combos and all this other stuff. They come in exhausted. Just about, I'm pretty sure every single way we've seen a gold token be created so far comes in exhausted, meaning you can't use it immediately. A gold token is a gear token. It says, kill this, tap reaction speed, add a power. It's at reaction speed. It can't be reacted to. It's an energy or like resource abilities, like it says there. Abilities that add resources can't be reacted to. You can't react to Kaisa tapping, can't react to tapping a rune, etc. Can't react to recycling a rune. This is the same deal. Can't do that. The one thing I see a lot of people confused about, it says kill this, exhaust it, blah blah blah. That's just all one cost, guys. Like, I get that it maybe should be in the other order. Probably should be in the other order. You do have to be able to exhaust it to pay its cost. It's not I see people throwing around this like, well, do as much as you can. That's everybody's like go-to petty argument of when something is misworded or not written in the most perfect ways. They say, well, I'm just going to do as much as I can. Guess I win the game. That's not how these work. You have to pay the cost to be able to do the thing. So you have to be able to exhaust it and be able to kill it. So you're going to kill it while it's exhausted, then you get your power. Don't be that guy for no reason. It's very simple. That's why all of this stuff makes it come in exhausted. So now we'll go back to the legend. So now that we know what it does, a gear token gives you a power. That's all it is. It's like a seal. It's basically a seal. It's a seal token. It gives you a power of any color, even. It doesn't even have to give you a specific color. So let's read this again. Civer says, when you recycle a rune, you may exhaust me to play a gear token exhausted, which gives you a power in the future, like the next turn. It says, when one or more enemy units die, ready me. And then so that means you can recycle another rune, make a second token. So I think the idea here is you do something that recycles a rune, like maybe you play a challenge, right? So you play a challenge. That's 2 energy, recycle an orange for a power. You can tap Civer, make a token. Make a gold token. Okay, challenge goes off. You killed an enemy unit. You untap Civer. Well, now you play another challenge, for example. Okay, well, you do that. You recycle a power. You tap Civer. Well, now your challenge goes off. You kill a unit. Untap Civer. There you go. You get 2 power to use for the next turn. Now, it's not quite Kaisa. I see a lot of people comparing gold to Kaisa and just in general things to Kaisa. The big thing is saying like, well, Civer can pay for, units, and Kaisa can't pay for units, or there's no like payback. The difference is Kaisa doesn't deramp you, and these deramp you. So you have to recycle a rune to get the gear token. It's not the exact same. It is still very good power wise. It lets you. It kind of reminds me a lot of Hearthstone, and it reminds me a lot of not Druid, of Shaman. What was the mechanic called? I think it was called Overlocked or something. It definitely was not called Overlocked. That shows you how much I've played in any recent years. But basically what it does is you spend your runes, and you play something very powerful, and then it tells you don't have that many runes on the next turn, but then you go back to overload is what it's called, and then you go back to having that amount of runes like on the other turns. So you take like every other turn is this like really big power turn, and that's kind of what this is making me believe it is. So for example, if you're at 7 runes and you play like 7 runes, play something that gives you some power, like that costs 2 to 3 power, and then you go all the way down to 4 runes. The next turn, you untap, you only have 6 runes, but you have the option to be spending a bunch of power. Well, now you can do the same play of like, spend 6 energy, 2 power, but you're going to ramp up to 8. So now you can spend 8 energy and 2 power. Or 8 energy and however much power you want, right? Notice it says, when you recycle a rune, you may exhaust me. I think it just means once, because you have to exhaust her the first time. So I saw a lot of people asking, well, what if you play Possession, where it has a 3 power cost to it? Do you get 3 gold tokens because you can, you're recycling 3 runes? No, because as soon as you tap her to pay for the first recycled rune, she's tapped. And she's not going to untap unless, some units die. But point being, no. It should just say like, 1 or more. I don't really know why. As far as we know right now, 1 or more is effectively how she works. Maybe, yeah. So that's the cool thing with her, is she kind of sets you up to like bank these gold tokens. So it feels like less of a tempo loss to play these really good purple and orange power costing cards, which there are a lot of. I mean, Kraken Hunter is one of the cards that come to my mind that I think is very strong, but she costs 2 power early on, and that can be really hard for you. However, with Civer, let's say turn 1, you're on 3 runes, you play a Kraken Hunter. Okay, well, you recycle 2, you go all the way down to 1 rune, but you get a gold token because you tapped your Civer. So next turn, you go back up to 3 runes, but you have a power. So now you can play some 3 energy, 1 power card and still be able to ramp all the way up to 5 and be kind of happy with that, right? So stuff like that, I think it'll enable a lot of aggressive, or I say sometimes mid-rangey, but mostly aggressive playstyles that really want to recycle a lot of cards early, like Kiana's, your Ride the Wind challenges, anything like that is going to be very, very solid with Civer. Another extremely unique thing that a lot of people don't know that I've been telling them with Civer, and this is the last thing, we'll go to the next legend, is you can actually float resources in this game, right? Everyone knows that. That's not the unique thing. Everyone knows, well, yeah, I'll just tap my runes and float some energy. Well, what people don't know is you can float power. Power is also a resource. So if you don't have anything to spend a Civer on, or let's just say you want to get some extra, gold tokens. Maybe there's something that you have that interacts with having gear in play, or when you play a gear, something happens, or maybe you can just set up for a really big power turn where you need, a bunch of power in a row. Like, let's imagine Time Warp, for example. If you can stack 4 gold tokens, you can just get to 10 runes, cast a Time Warp, not deramp a single bit, go to 12 runes, cast a Time Warp, go down to 8, go back up to 10, cast a Time Warp, right? Like, let's pretend Time Warp was 4 purple instead of 4 blue. In a world where you can set up 4 golden gear, or 4 gold tokens, you can just play triple Time Warp in a row, which is just hilarious to me. From 10 runes, you just play it on 10, you go up to 12, play it on 12, go back down to 10 overall, play it on 10 again, right? It's actually hilarious that you can do that, but that's something you can do. So you can always just float a power by recycling a rune, and that recycles a rune, and you would get a Civer, a gold token out of it, which I look at that as, I don't know what the applications are for that quite yet, because I don't know when or why or how or where we're using these gold tokens, but I do know that maybe if you're an aggro deck and you don't need all the runes you have, but you might need the power for some big combo turn, that's the first thing that comes to my mind. Next, we will go over Renata, the Chem-Baroness. First of all, mommy, sorry. Second of all, hopefully better Victor. I don't really see how she solves the Victor issue, but we'll see. What does Renata do? When you or an ally, pause, amazing, thank you for incorporating 2v2 in these, right? It's awesome. Thank you. Shout out to whoever, is working on the 2v2 mostly, or if it's all of you, you all rock. When you or an ally hold, you may exhaust me to play a gold gear token exhausted. So we'll read all of it. And then while your score is within 3 points of the victory score, your gold add an additional energy. So, a lot to unpack here. 1, you have to hold in order to get a gold token. Kind of a lot less common than just simply recycling a rune, which you can just literally do on demand on turn 1 if you want to. Either way, it's kind of harder to do. It starts you off a little bit late. However, it does say while your score is within 3 points, so in a normal game when you have 5 or more points, in an aspirant's game when you have 6 or more points, your gold also add an additional 1 energy. I don't know if you still sacrifice it to get that. I assume so. I would assume it's like, I'm going to sacrifice my gold token to get a power and also an additional energy now because I'm within 3. That's really cool. This does kind of help one of Victor's issues. Victor has 2 main issues, or Victor, I really should say blue-yellow, but Victor and blue-yellow have 2 main issues. 1, you can't kill a 4-mite unit. This doesn't help that. You just can't kill a 4-mite unit, and your deck sucks, and that's why Victor sucks, and that's why Victor sucks, is because your opponent plays a 2-energy Noxus Hopeful. They just played a 2-energy vanilla 4-mite unit with no text box, and you lost the game because you can't deal with it. They played their Kaisa and accelerated onto a battlefield, and you lose the game because you can't kill a 4-mite unit. But the second issue is their power cost. The deck is extremely power hungry to be able to do things like kill a 4-mite unit. Your best cards are cards like Cole. Cole is broken. Everyone agrees Cole is broken. It's 2 energy, 1 power. You and your opponent everybody kills one of their units in play. You can either do this on turn 1 when you don't have a unit in play. I've done it so many times going second, where my opponent goes, play a student, pass, and I say, okay, untap, play a Cole. We both kill a unit, but I haven't played a unit yet, so I don't actually have to kill anything. You have to kill your student, and then now I'm going to make a token with Victor. Start the game with a token. You start with no student, and that's a really big tempo play. A lot of stuff like that can happen into Aurora matchups, etc. Point being is that, you know, these cards that are really strong for you, hiding cards, Sprite Mothers, your Culls, your Hidden Blades, all of these cards, Singularities, cost a lot of power, and it's really hard for you to get to this late game where you're trying to cast Thousand-Tailed Watchers, Harness Dragons, Stratagems, like all of these really big, really good cards, when all of your actually good cards that you could possibly play cost power early on. And it's not even like just don't play those cards. Like Ari, you know, has a lot of cards that cost power, but you can just not play them until the late game. You have to play those cards in blue-yellow because your deck sucks, because you can't kill a 4-might unit. And because you can't kill a 4-might unit, you have to pay power for things like a Machine Evangel. You have to pay power for things like the Hidden Blade, Cull, stuff like that. So being able to generate gold tokens will help blue and yellow. It isn't until after you've already held, which means the earliest you can get a token or get a gear token is going to be like turn 3 realistically, because I don't believe blue-yellow has any. I guess you could play a Sprite's Call, which doesn't cost power and has Accelerate. I don't think blue-yellow has a lot of Accelerate early on, but you would play a Sprite's Call, move up, and then you would hide a second Sprite's Call, and then in response to the temporary trigger on your turn 2, you would play the hidden Sprite's Call, so that way you still control the battlefield when it's time to conquer and hold. So you can get a gold token on turn 2 technically, but you had to pay a power to get the gold token, so it's not actually netting you any advantage. You're just going kind of even, and that kind of doesn't seem the greatest. The second part does seem extremely good though. Whenever you are within 3 points, you know, having them also give you an energy is great, especially when you're in a region like blue and yellow where your top end and your expensive cards are really, really, really good. So you have to be able to get to that point. So you have to have the gold tokens and you have to have not lost and you have to have some amount of points, which to be fair, the only thing Victor has going for him, is the guaranteed token to be able to pressure people if they stumble, and Renata doesn't have that, so you have to actually put 2-drops into your deck now, whereas Victor could have just put 0 2-drops into his deck and been fairly happy because he has guaranteed tokens. It's going to be very interesting. I don't want to say things like, I don't see Renata being strong, I don't see blue-yellow being strong. Like, we haven't seen any of this set. We've seen like 10 cards or something, right? But basically, this helps one of the issues of, it will help out with the power costs, but due to how slow she gets the gold gear online, she's going to need a little bit more help from her actual units and from the stuff around that they're going to print for blue-yellow to both make her active and also solve the blue-yellow problems. Next is Azir. Azir, Emperor of the Sands. So Azir is Emperor of the Sands. Okay, I guess I read the top and then read the middle. So Azir says, your Sand soldiers have Weapon Master. And then it has 1 energy tap, or one energy exhaust him. Play a 2-might Sand Soldier unit token to your base. Use only if you've played an equipment this turn. Weapon Master. What is Weapon Master? Great question. I should have found that out before doing these reveals. I did know, but I don't want to lie, so I'm going to see if there is. Here it is. I know that it's on here somewhere. I want to read it word for word for you guys. But basically, it just lets you equip instantly. Not instantly, but it lets you equip while it's still attached to somebody, and then it costs less. So Weapon Master's word for word says, when you play me, you may equip one of your equipment to me for 1 power less, even if it's already attached, to another unit. Which, for those of you that don't know, when we go over these cards, I'll go over how equipment works exactly. But basically, you cannot unequip, and it's not like Magic the Gathering where you can just like move your equipment over to another unit. The unit has to basically die, or you have to have Weapon Master to get the equipment off of an alive unit that's on the battlefield and onto a different unit. So now that we know what that does, let's read him again. So he says, all of your Sand Soldiers have Weapon Master, meaning anytime you summon a Sand Soldier, or all of your Sand Soldiers, when they get played, can come in and immediately take an equipment and equip an equipment for 1 less power, even if it's already attached to somebody else. And so Azir says 1 energy tap, play a 2 might Sand Soldier token to your base. Only use this if you've played an equipment this turn. This is effectively adding 1 energy cost to all of your green, yellow equipment to just say, when it comes in, immediately attach it to somebody. Anything that has like 1 power equip cost or not, which we'll go over some of those. Quick one for those of you that, if you don't really know what I'm saying, we'll take Doran Shield, for example. So this is 1 energy in green. It says Doran Shield, the unit has tank and then gets +1 might. The equip cost is 1 green. So how this works is on turn 1 in Azir, you would go turn 1, play a Doran Shield. Okay, I've played an equipment. So now my Azir is happy because I've played an equipment. So I can spend another 1 energy and exhaust him to play a 2 might Sand Soldier token in my base. And because that Sand Soldier has Weapon Master, and Weapon Master lets you equip immediately for 1 less power, you can equip the Doran Shield to that token immediately. And now you've played effectively a 3 might unit on turn 1 with tank. Seems pretty good, right? And that's how I'm going to see these cards being used, especially Doran Shield, where you are mostly just going to play this in Azir, where this is your 2-drop. Like, you don't have to play 2-drops in Azir. Or like when you're counting the number of 2-drops you have in your deck, just tell yourself that Doran Shield is a 2-drop, because at any point in time, you just go Doran Shield, play Azir, equip it to my token. I just effectively played a 2 energy, 3 might unit on turn 1, which is amazing. And it has a cool little snazzy keyword, right? And then that's only if you go first. If you go second and have 3 energy available, now you can do things like Guardian Angel, which says, effectively the same thing. You make a 3 might unit. Of course, it says when the unit would die, you kill the gear instead, or you kill the equipment instead. And then I don't think that's very worth it. But point being is that you just add you add 1 energy cost to any yellow or blue equipment. And that's how much it's going to cost to get it onto a 2 might body immediately with Azir. So really interesting. Azir looks really good as far as just like what his legend strength looks like. Being able to just make any equipment instantly attached for 1 less energy, or at the very worst, just be like a better Victor and say, I have a condition, so I can't like just make a 1 might or a 2 might unit for 1 energy on turn 1 for free. You have to have an equipment, but being able to just play out a normal, green yellow game plan, because green yellow has a lot of really good spells. All they're missing are good units. If green and yellow get some really good units here, this color combination is going to be a beast. And having a legend that doesn't force you to play an archetype full of really bad cards like stun, with this ability, of just saying like, 1 energy, make a 2 might dude, while I'm just playing normally. I don't even have to equip the thing with Weapon Master. I don't have to do any of that. It's like I was already going to play this equipment in my deck, so I might as well just sometimes make a 2 might unit to go with it and just start controlling the board fairly well. This is going to be something that's quite good into decks like Kai'Sa, where Kai'Sa wants to just kill everything you have. Well, anytime you get to play stats like permanent buffs, all of this stuff, and then you also are just making units in the back and just kind of swarming out the board, that's going to be really good into the removal based decks. The last 2, these are the 2 that everybody is yapping about. The 2 everyone is yapping about that caused a huge market uproar. One is Aurelia. So Aurelia Blade Dancer, she has Yasuo colors, Calm and Chaos, green and purple. She says, when you choose a friendly unit, you may exhaust me, pay a power, and ready it. Then she says, when you conquer, you can pay 1 energy to ready me. 1 energy and 1 power is the exact amount that it costs to accelerate something. This basically says you can pay 1 power to give something accelerate, and then if you conquer with said thing, you can pay the 1 energy now if you want to ready the Aurelia, to then give something else in your hand or something else you're about to choose accelerate, or at least ready it. So any unit with ganking, this is amazing. You play the unit with ganking, or, you play the unit with ganking, maybe you target it with a buff. You say, okay, cool, pay a power, attack in with that ganking unit. You conquered, pay 1 energy to untap Aurelia. You target it with another buff or something, or you target it with anything. Now you can pay another power with Aurelia to untap that unit with ganking, gank it over to the other battlefield. You just get a lot of stuff. The really big combo everyone is talking about that was just extremely easy to see was White Flame Protector. So White Flame Protector comes in for 8 energy, and it says, when you play me, give a unit plus 8 might this turn. It does not say give another unit, give a friendly unit, give a unit other than me. It just says give a unit plus 8 might this turn. You can target itself. People in Yasuo have been targeting itself for a long time, because in Yasuo, if you have 10 energy, you can target yourself and then use your Yasuo ability, and all of a sudden, with 10 energy, you just made a 16 might accelerate unit. Cool. Well, now we have Aurelia, so we don't even have to spend 2 energy. We just have to spend 1 power, and it's the same play, basically. Or not basically, it is. It's the same play. It's 1 power instead of 2 energy to just go play a White Flame Protector on curve on turn 8. You don't even need any extra energy. It's just you have 8 energy, played the White Flame, you buffed itself to 16, you paid a power with Aurelia to untap it, and you attack in for 16. That card jumped like 20 bucks. Sorry. That card jumped like 20 bucks in one night because of Aurelia. So I hope you all had your White Flame Protectors beforehand for Master Yi and weren't skimming out on them. Because have fun getting those now. But this looks really good. Aurelia looks nice. Giving something Accelerate for just a power is strong because you can just curve things out. You don't even have to play slow. Like, that's the other thing about having cards with Accelerate, like Kaisa Evolution, for example, is you can just pay 4 energy to play her, or Kaisa Survival, you just pay 4 energy to play her normally on curve, or you wait a turn and you play her off curve, but now she comes in with Accelerate, and that's kind of like the trade-off. You have to figure out the balance, right? With all the Accelerate cards, it's like that. It goes, okay, well, if I just play this card on curve, it's not accelerated, but the stats are fine on curve, but if I wait a turn, play it accelerated, it's off curve, but it's accelerated, its stats are lower, but makes up for it because it comes in ready, and that's strong. Aurelia just lets you play things in on curve. If you have something else that targets I keep saying orange. In green, purple, I don't know what targets, like in play, if there's a gear that targets. I don't think there is. One thing you can do is play it on a battlefield with a hidden card, for example, like block, or a hidden card. I think there was another one I was looking at. Sorry guys, but oh yeah, where's he at? Tide Turner. So like if you have a hidden Tide Turner on a battlefield and you play any unit at all, again, a unit with ganking is ideal, or if you just control the Windswept Hillock, you can play a unit on curve, play your Tide Turner from hidden, target that unit that's in your base. Well, now you make them swap places. You can pay a power with Aurelia because you've targeted it, or you chose it with the Tide Turner, and now that unit readies. So that unit is now like unexhausted, it's readied, and you can attack, back and forth if it has ganking. That's a really strong combo. And if you do that with Kayn, for example, this is just says play Kayn on curve, he can't die, and he comes in ready. Because you just play Kayn, again, you have the hidden Tide Turner, you play Kayn in your base, you reveal the Tide Turner, you target Kayn, you ready Kayn. Kayn moves to where the Tide Turner was at, so that's move number 1. And then because he has ganking and he's readied off of the Aurelia, you just gank him over to the other battlefield. Boom, that's move 2. And you didn't have to do anything. You just had to pay an extra power, and you just have a 6 might attacking Accelerate guy. I think this will be really strong if you have gears or any way to target a unit or choose a unit basically in purple and green that can be in play. That's not saying like you have to have extra energy available to buff it up, like spells, for example. But even if you have to wait, like still play it off curve a little bit to be able to buff it up with spells or target it with a spell or a unit's ability or anything like that, it's still really strong for the cost. Like it's extremely cost effective to still do that. But again, anything that either targets itself, like the White Flame Protector, or if there are permanents that can just target things while being in play already, that's going to be extremely strong because now you just get to ready stuff and give anything accelerate for just 1 power cost and not even have to pay the energy. And the last legend we're going to look at here is the one that I think most people think are convinced this legend is just super broken. And it says, when you win a combat, draw 1 card. So this says you win if only your units remain after combat. At first glance, the card is very strong. It's purple red, it's anti colors, it's jinx colors, it is push colors. All of your purple pushes, rebukes, your bounces, your combat tricks. Very strong, right? So what people are looking at is they do things like when you look at purple cards, and sorry, we'll just look at the purple cards here, and you play things like Gust, Fight or Flight, Rebuke. They're thinking, I'm just going to move my unit into this battlefield that you're holding, gust your unit away. Now I've won the combat, and it is considered a combat even if the enemy unit gets removed. It is still considered a combat. So they attack in, bounce your unit, and then because there's no unit there, and if you don't have a combat trick, maybe you're tapped out or something, right? Or you don't have a burn spell, basically. They get the conquer point. It was technically a combat, so now their Draven also draws them a card, turns Gust into like 1 energy, bounce your unit, draw a card. Obviously, that's insane. Fight or Flight turns into 2 energy, gain a point, draw a card. Very good. Like, all of these cards now start to replace themselves. Even Rebuke, which is pretty pricey in the sense of 2 power cost, it still just says 2 energy, 2 power, gain a point, draw a card. Once you start adding the word draw a card to all of these combat tricks, it becomes very good. Like, I don't know how else to put it. It becomes very good. So that is the thing that a lot of people are hyped up on. I will say, I don't think people realize how often your aggro decks are not in combat or are not like winning a combat. It's very rare that you win a combat just by like pushing a unit back or by gusting a unit, right? That doesn't really happen. Now, it might not really be happening because we're not trying to do it, because there isn't a really big upside, or maybe it's happening a lot and people just aren't realizing it because, a combat also counts for defense. So if your opponent plays a Deadbloom Predator on you and you just say fight or flight it back, that was still a combat. You were the defender, but it was a combat and you won because you stopped their unit from killing your unit. So you're going to draw a card from that. And it's going to be really interesting to see how strong Draven ends up being and how the cadence of like conquering and showdowns go. If it becomes this thing where, let's say Draven is really good, maybe the answer is you just don't interact with him. You just go to the other battlefield and you just start stacking on that battlefield. And you just say like, hey, I'm not going to give you a bunch of draws and a bunch of combats to where all of your tricks are useful. I'm just going to stack on this battlefield. We'll play a slower game. I'll eventually outgrind you or outscale you because you're an aggressive purple-red deck, and I'm like this mid-range or whatever, like scaly deck. So eventually I'll just remove all your units, go over and be happy. But we'll see. Anytime something says draw on it, it's usually scary. It's usually very scary. Even like Jinx right now, where Jinx isn't very played a lot. She's considered not great. She's only considered not great because Kai'Sa just hoses her. Like, Falling Star specifically destroys her. If Falling Star wasn't around, we don't know how strong Jinx would be. Anything that says draw a card at the start of my turn in an aggro deck, anything that says draw in an aggro deck is scary. Coming from somebody that has been known to, like, master and prioritize, the aggro deck craft, I can tell you, anytime I see the word draw a card on an aggro card, I get extremely happy and extremely scared at the same time. But those are all the legends. Darius looks sick. The other thing about Darius is his signature equipment. Yeah, that's right. So he doesn't have a spell. Annie has a signature unit, which is cool. Most legends have a signature spell. Darius has a signature equipment. The 2 big things that we need to talk about, though, that everyone always asks. One is when the equipment is not attached to a unit, it has the entire text box, I believe. It has the entire text box. So it's saying when just the equipment is in play, it's saying you know, the equip cost, 1 energy, one power, attach this to a unit you control. Quick draw means this has reaction. So when you play it, attach it to a unit you can, it has a reaction, and just when you play it, attach it to a unit you control. So this is a reaction speed pump spell, basically, and then you just get to attach it to a unit you control without, I assume, without paying its cost, because it doesn't say like when you play it, attach it. I don't know if you have to pay its cost or not. That's something I'll have to find out for you guys. Maybe in the edits here, Eric will just throw up the word yes or no. But I'm not sure if you have to pay the power cost when you equip it. But either way, it's 2 energy, 1 power, reaction speed. You play it, because it has quick draw, you immediately attach it to something. And then it has the temporary keyword. So it says, if this is unattached, kill it at the start of its controller's beginning phase before scoring. So when your unit, when the equipment is just in play and not attached, it has all of this text box. When the equipment is attached to a unit, all of this text box goes away, and the unit just gets this bottom text box. The unit doesn't gain all of this. So this is why you cannot equip, you can't like move around equipment from something that's already on a unit, because when it's on a unit, it does not have this text box. Just assume there's a big black like square over this. So this part doesn't exist. So it doesn't have an equip cost. It doesn't have temporary. It doesn't have, whatever else would be on here. All it gets is this bottom text bar of +3. So this is 2 energy, 1 of any power, give a unit +3, basically, and it's give a unit +3 permanently. Again, I don't know if you have to pay the equip cost. I assume you don't. But assuming you don't, this is an insane pump spell because it is permanent. I've already seen, the big things is you tempo a Kaisa on turn 2, like Red Kaisa. Cool. Turn 3, you swing in Red Kaisa into something. You quick draw your spinning axe onto the Kaisa. You've spent 6 total energy and 1 power to make a 7 might attacker that draws you a card because it's Kaisa. So when she conquers, she'll draw you a card. But then also, assuming it was a combat, if you're Draven, you will draw another card. So this turned into 2 energy, 1 power, draw 2 cards if it's on a Kaisa. And it makes your Kaisa big. And now it is also just sitting on your Kaisa, and it's just making her big on defense. So now your Kaisa doesn't even die whenever your opponent tries to attack her, and she's just going to be too big. She's a 7 might unit on turn 3. That's really hard to deal with. When people do things like Deadbloom Predator turn 3 and Mind Splitter turn 3, those units are huge. But those units also aren't usually attacking outside of Deadbloom, but that's why Deadbloom is so strong, right? This is just like a slightly smaller Deadbloom for a lot cheaper and a lot less setup and a lot more payoff. Like your payoff is drawing multiple cards. It's insane. Like this card is great. This card is great, simply put. And then it has temporary. So if it is unattached at the start of its owner's beginning phase, or controller's beginning phase, it does just go away. So if you can kill the unit on your turn, if you're playing against a spinning axe, right? Like if you're against someone that has spinning axe, if you can kill that unit that the spinning axe is attached to, on your turn, then when it passes back to the opponent, the spinning axe will die before they have a chance to equip it. I believe equip is still just like a slow speed effectively, so on your turn outside of combat. So, or I didn't say I believe, it is. It's on your turn outside of combat. So if you can get the spinning axe unattached on your turn, they will never have a window to attach it unless they can like burst speed in a weapon master or something that we don't know about. But as of right now, it will just die. But this is why equipment is so strong. So that's how equipment works. The second big thing about equipment that people ask is is there a limit to how many equipment a unit can have? Because in Legends of Runeterra, the predecessor, you could only ever have 1 equipment per unit. In this game, you can have any. It's just like Magic. You can Voltron. I think that's Magic rules. Last time I played, it was Magic rules. Maybe I was playing House rules or something. But you can Voltron a unit. There's been a lot of memes made, a lot of funny memes. We have a lot of green equipment shown so far and orange equipment shown so far. I've seen a lot of pictures of Lee Sin and Deadbloom and stuff like that, just Voltroned out with, basically all of this armor made, which is kind of funny. But you can have as many on a unit as you want. So that starts to get really funny. So now that we know how equipment works, we got to see the first ever signature equipment, which I think is sick, and I absolutely love Draven. Draven will be the first deck I try and build and play. Let's look at the rest of the equipment, and then we'll get to the units. And I know this video is really long. I'm just really excited. I love talking about card games. I hope you guys enjoy this content and the amount of time I put into it. I assume you all also are on this level of the spectrum as I am and love card games as much as I do, which is why you sit here and listen to some random skinny kid yap about cardboard for 45 plus minutes straight at a time. But I appreciate you guys. So now we'll just go over all the equipment, just from left to right. I think this is from energy cost lowest to greatest, or maybe it's just from number. Let's see, 22. 33. Okay, this is just from set number, so it doesn't matter. So we'll just go over the red one first. So Longsword. This is again in Draven colors. So that's quick draw. It's a reaction. 2 energy, 1 power, plus 2 might. And that's it. It's just plus 2 might. It's vanilla. It's effectively 2 energy plus 2. So you can kind of look at it as a like a discipline type effect. So it's on par with discipline, where it's 2 energy plus 2, except for it costs a power, which makes it worse than discipline. It doesn't draw, which makes it worse than discipline, but it is a permanent buff, which maybe balances it out and makes it better than discipline, because it's plus 2 on attack and then now also plus 2 on defense. So it's effectively going to be a 2 energy, 1 power, plus 4. And I think if that was a card people would play, like if discipline said, if discipline's cost a power and said 2 energy, 1 power, until your next turn, give this unit plus 2, that card would be broken, right? Or people would say like, oh, that card would be broken, and it still drew your card. Like, people would love that card. That's what this says. It says until your next turn, give a unit plus 2. But then it will continue to give it a plus 2 until that unit eventually dies or doesn't die and you win, because you have a unit in the game since turn 1. Very solid, very standard. This is a rare. I think it's good. I think this is a very good, like, benchmark of telling you, like, hey, this is kind of how equipments are going to work. Some of them have quick draw, some of them are just vanilla units, or just vanilla equipment like this one, but think of it as like a permanent buff, which is why they cost power to equip. And then the big thing is, like, even if that unit dies, like on your opponent's next turn, if they attack into it and kill it, you still get the equipment. The equipment doesn't like go away. It just gets played back to your base because it's a gear. So it goes back to your base, and then now the next turn you can just spend a power, equip it. This is when you do things like Civer, for example. I don't see any purple. I see 1 orange equipment so far, but imagine Longsword was purple, and you just said, okay, 1 power, equip it to a unit. Well, that taps your Civer. You get a gold token. You attack that unit in. You killed an opponent unit because you just reconquered the battlefield. You get to untap your Civer. You can make another gold token. Very solid card. Next is Doran Shield. It is another very basically basic card, like almost vanilla. It's 1 energy, 1 power, or 1 energy plus 1 might, and it has tank. We went over this one earlier. This card I don't think is very good. I don't think 1 energy for plus 2. This is like a Lee Sin legend ability. It's saying Lee Sin legend ability on a unit, except it costs you a power, which is not very good. However, we do see it with Azir being really good. This is effectively a 1 energy. Imagine this card was just said 1 energy, 3 might unit. That sometimes it says, like, when I die, pay a power to give an ally plus 1 might and stuff, right? Like there, you have to look at cards oftentimes differently than what's literally written to understand how they're functionally going to work. And that's kind of how Doran Shield is written. Is right now, its best use to me looks like a it says it's a 2 energy, 3 might unit that says when I die, you can recall me to base, spend 1 power to give an ally plus 1 might and tank. That's how I look at it. And that doesn't seem that bad. Outside of Azir, it does not seem very good. I think any equipment that only has a 1 power equipment cost, or equip cost, is going to be not very bad at the least because of Weapon Master. Of course, we have to see how many Weapon Masters they are, etc. But anything with only a 1 power equip cost is going to be, can be carried by Weapon Master pretty easily. Next is Guardian Angel, another green equipment. We got 4 green equipments total. And this is effectively Zhonya's, but for a specific unit. It's 2 energy, does not have a power cost. It does have an equip, power cost of 1 green. It says, if I would die, kill Guardian Angel instead, heal me, exhaust me, recall to base. It is basically Zhonya's, like it's literally a Zhonya's type effect, a set type effect, but you can choose the unit that you are Zhonya's using. You choose the unit you're saving, and you can pop it around with Weapon Master. So let's say you throw this onto a unit you don't really want to die, and your opponent doesn't want to interact with it because it's going to be too hard to kill, you're going to save the unit anyways, etc. Well, then you can play a Weapon Master, move the Guardian Angel over to that unit now, and be happy. Or you can do things like maybe you can recall your own unit, like let's say you're an Ahri, and you play Guardian Angel on something, your opponent tries to kill it, and you decide you want to keep your Guardian Angel around for green Ahri, you can just retreat the unit that Guardian Angel is attached to, and that your unit will go to your hand, you'll ramp and do all that stuff. The Guardian Angel will now go back to the base, and since it wasn't attached to a unit that died, you still have it. So then you can just play another unit, reattach it to that unit, and kind of like move it around. That's a funky way to move equipment around. I like it. I like Guardian Angel. I think it's a very solid card. I think it's very good. Next is Sterak's Gauge. This card is kind of sick, not gonna lie. It is 3 energy, 2 power, kind of a sprinter. It says quick draw, so it has a reaction when you play me attached to the unit. This is the card that kind of made people ask, do you have to pay the equip cost also? Because 3 energy, 3 power gives something +3. Not very good, but you don't have to pay the equip cost when you play it, from my understanding. So it's just 3 energy, 2 power, give a unit +3 might. But really, again, you want to look at it as 3 energy, 3 energy, 2 power, give a unit +3 might until your next turn. So kind of like a pseudo +6, because it'll get +3 when attacking, and then +3 when defending or when being dealt damage by a damaging spell, as well as it is a reaction. So it's a pump spell. It's kind of like again, we keep going back to disciplines because it's kind of like the bread and butter, like it's the staple. It's like if your pump spell is worse than discipline, we don't play it. If your pump spell is better than discipline, it's probably broken. This card is, when you compare it to discipline, it costs 1 more energy and obviously 2 more power, but it gives 3 times the amount of stats. So it doesn't replace itself, but is that good enough, right? And that's going to be the big question. I think it's really solid. I think 3 might is a lot. I think people are starting to realize how much, might, how hard it is to get might. So something that just looks like and gives like, oh, just +2 might, or oh, just +3 might. There, especially if it gets over a break point, it is massive. If you go from like 8 might to 10 might, right? 8 might big, you can deal with 8 might. 9 might, basically the same as 8 might. Most things that deal with 8 might can deal with 9 might. Once you hit 10 might, well, that's just like a different story. 10 might is a beast. 10 might is Darius Cleave, but Darius Cleave is trading. 10 might trades with the Watcher. 9 might, 8 might, those die to those things. 10 might trades. 11 might is absurd, because now 11 might is beating those things that we just named, the Darius Cleave, the Accelerated Watchers. 11 might's beating a Deadbloom Predator with Yi passive. Like if your opponent just slams down a Deadbloom Predator, it taps out, and then they usually just go, okay, I killed your guy with my 8 might unit, it's 10 might when defending, so I'm big chillin', I get to stabilize now. If you're 11 might, you just get to kill that and say, okay, do it again, but now attack me for 11 just to trade, and that doesn't really happen in Yi. That's crazy. So when you give something +3, and speaking of Deadbloom Predator, he's an 8 might unit. You make him 11 might in any, and I say in any green orange deck, obviously in like Master Yi or Lee Sin. Well, obviously Master Yi gives him +2 and makes him a 10. Well, now if you can just like burst speed out, or I keep saying burst speed, if you just like reaction speed out a Sterak's Gauge and make him a 13 might unit, how many people in here can get over a volley bear easily? How many of you have done it? Raise your hand. Not me. Like, it's very hard. It's very hard to actually fight a volley bear, orange volley bear, on a battlefield. Steric's Gauge turns Deadbloom Predator into a volley bear permanently. Not even while just defending, so your opponent can't go, okay, well, smokescreen, they're just like, oh, smokescreen, falling star, deal 10 damage to your volley bear, be kind of sad. You still have deflect, so dealing damage to it with spells is rough. You're still orange, so you still have like unyielding spirits and stuff. This +3 is not while just defending, it's always. So he is just always an 11 might unit, whether it's attacking or not. So you have to find a way to deal 11 damage to him. And then when he is defending, because you're in Yi, he goes up to being a 13 might unit. So it's like, have fun dealing with all of that, while also in green with other pump spells, etc. Like, if you get to play this and then untap with more energy available to do more stuff, play more cards, it gets crazy. People are going to learn real quick how big, stat numbers matter, and especially when they go over top of breakpoints. The last green one is actually one of the coolest ones to me. This is a 3 energy, 1 power equipment. And it has an equip cost. The first one we've seen that's a little bit different. The equip cost is 1 energy and a power. So all of your weapon masters will reduce this equip cost down to just 1 energy. So you would still have to pay for it. This one is slightly different. We said that equipment don't have text as soon as they're attached, and then the units they're attached to just get the bottom text of the card. So you would think like, oh, it's just getting +0. This one is kind of different. It's kind of like the Tide Turner versus Hidden Rule, only targeting battlefields. It's kind of like the exception so far. It says, as this is attached to a unit, copy that unit's text to this equipment's effect text for as long as this is attached to it. A lot of words. Half of y'all don't know how to read because we all play card games, and the other half pretends to know how to read. Press 1 if you know how to read, press 2 if you lied about pressing 1. So what this says is you basically copy the text box of any unit. You copy the text box of any unit when this is attached to it. You want some examples? People have been cooking. So just in green, because the equipment is in green, the equipment is in green. The very obvious one people thought of, there were 2. So 1 is Ahri. Green Ahri says, when I hold, score 1 point. When I call it flute, because I don't know how to pronounce the name of it. So when you attach flute to Ahri, the flute has Ahri's text attached to her, so she gets it twice. So when she holds, you score 1 point twice. So you get 1 point for holding, you get 1 point for the Ahri, unit card ability, and then you will get 1 point for the equipment flute that copied the Ahri ability. So you get 3 total points just for holding with the green Ahri alive, which can create obviously some insane situations. There are combos and there are cards that allow you to just win the game from 0 with Ahri, I believe. I think if you put 3 flutes, there's another equipment we're about to get to that also says hold. So that's 3 flutes, 3 of those equipment, that's 6. That is winning the game because you get, that 6 from just those 3 equipment, but then you get 1 from Ahri and then you get 1 from holding. So that gets you 8 points. So you can win the game theoretically from 0 if you can get a green Ahri and 6 equipment attached to her, move to a battlefield, hold, and have her not die. You will win from 0 to 8, which is hilarious. Obviously, that's a huge stretch, but you do just get to win from bigger numbers than before. I mean, Ahri plus Time Warp was already something people were doing and winning with sometimes. So now, when you have Ahri plus Flute, you don't even really need Time Warp. Like, Flute is a cheap Time Warp. Flute says you have to deal with this Ahri, or I'm getting 3 points just from this battlefield, and then if I conquer the other, that's 4 points. That's half of the points I need to win the game. The other one people really looked at was Green Yasuo. Green Yasuo says, when I attack, deal damage equal to my might to an enemy unit here. It copies the ability. So you basically anytime an ability triggers, you choose like new target for. Like, it's just a second ability. Like, Flute itself has that ability now attached to the Yasuo. So a Yasuo attacks in, And the Yasuo unit champion card himself has an ability that you are going to target an enemy unit and deal damage to it. But then the flute card also has an ability now that you have to target and deal damage to it, so you can get double. So you're going to shoot 2 things with Yasuo when you move in. You can choose the same thing, so you can blast a Master Yi unit for 12 if they're holding with, of course, Deadbloom has deflect, but if they're holding with like a Mountain Drake, and Mountain Drake is just defending for 12, you can attack in with a non-buffed Yasuo and just threaten to deal 12 to it before combat damage even happens, just with your abilities. That's something that's really cool. I'm not going to sit here and list every single card and interaction and everything that you can do with Flute. Just assume any unit that has any ability, Flute can be good on it because you double it. I mean, does red-green exist? I don't think red-green exists. No, it doesn't. But if you put it on Draven, for example, you would if you were at 3 points, you would have a 9-might Draven, all being at 3 points. Kaisa, draw 2 cards. Vayne has Assault 6, so you attack him for 8. Tryndamere gets you 2 points if you assigned, 5 or more excess damage. Vi lets you, I don't know, have sex with Caitlyn or something. You get the idea. So card is very cool. Card is really, really, really cool. I am sure at some point it will probably be broken. I don't know what that is now. I don't want to think about it right now. I'm going to wait until we get more Spiritforged cards in general to be able to, start building decks. So that's the other thing people are asking me. I'm not going to build decks until we get all the cards out. I'm not gonna do that. I like to wait till we have all the cards out because that gives me the most amount of fun because I don't have to play like the what if game. 2 more gears we're going to go over, 2 more equipment. The second and last one is Trinity Force. So this one is an orange, 4 energy, no power cost, 1 power to equip. It gives you +2 might, and it says when I hold, score 1. So this was the other gear I was talking about with Ahri. If you put Ahri in your, Lee Sin deck, your, Yi deck, whatever, again, you can start doing funny meme things. If you put 3 Triforces, Trinity Forces onto an Ahri, she gets +6. Your Ahri is now a 10 might unit. Of course, if she's holding by herself with a Master Yi, she's a 12 might unit on defense. And then if she holds, with 3 Trinity Force, 3 flutes, she wins the game. That's kind of funny. Of course, by the time you play out your Ahri and 6, gears, the game is so long, your opponent probably has a way to deal 12 damage or get over a 12 might unit. But it's really sick, though. It is sick. Being able to give a unit +2 might, again, is really good. And then just saying, when I hold, score 1 point is good. We already see Yi being very good with these stats. This is a non-power costing card, and that's very important. Right now, Ramp Yi is it is the best Yi deck, and it's one of the top 2 decks in the game, one of the top 3 decks if you want to stretch, right? So with that, we already see really solid plays of turn 1, oh, I don't have anything to play Azonia's, ramp on turn 2, turn 3, play Deadbloom with Zonia's backup, right? Well, now you can do plays let's say you're going turn 1, you ramp either with Mobilize, or you have Find Your Center going second. Turn 1, ramp, go from 3 to 4, 4 to 6 on turn 2. Again, we're going to say you start with 3 runes, you play Find Your Center, you go to 4 runes. Your turn 2, you untap, you have 6 runes. You can just play a Trinity Force and a Zonia's. Okay, turn 3, play a Deadbloom. You have a Deadbloom coming down, and you have a Zonia's in the back to protect it. And you have a Trinity Force in the back that you're about to immediately equip onto that Deadbloom Predator and say, hey man, I was just talking to you guys about breakpoints and how important they are? Well, now my Deadbloom Predator is a 10 might unit before defending, and when he's defending, he defends for 12. And if you don't kill him, I'm going to score an additional point and just still be scoring 2 points a turn as if I was conquering or holding both battlefields. So the tempo I'm making up is insane. Of course, if you pair this onto a ganking unit like with Master Yi goes from a 6 might unit to an 8 might unit, 10 while defending, which is again very big. But then he gets to attack over for 8, so he can hold, get 2 points because he held for 10 might and your opponent can't deal with that. Well, now, he has ganking, so you get to ready all your runes, ready all your stuff, and then just gank him over for 8+ might, conquer that battlefield, so you scored 3 points this turn, and tell your opponent again, hey buddy, find a way to, get over my unit that I made bigger and have more mana open to protect or more energy open to protect. And if you don't, I'm just going to score another 2 points by holding, and you just end the game in like 3 turns. Sounds really good. Really excited for this, mostly because it doesn't have a power cost to play, just a power cost to equip. This lets you set up a lot of really big end game like orange decks, and it's going to be a good way to punish the Aurora decks. It's going to be a good way to come back from the Kaisa tempo if they kind of blast some stuff early, or maybe you get behind because you're playing the more mid-rangey, bigger style of deck. Being able to just score extra points while holding it, scoring extra points is the things that lets you bring back point tempo. That's one of the things, right? So being able to just bring back that point tempo a lot while still being able to conquer the other side and get that additional point, it's gonna be interesting to see for sure. And then the first epic gear that we see, the flute was the first epic gear. Second epic gear, the first yellow gear that we see, is a crazy one. So this one is 3 energy, 1 power, yellow gear order, and its equip cost is a yellow rune. So it's a yellow power, but also kill a friendly unit. And then it says in parentheses, pay the cost, attach this to a unit you control, because it's telling you how equipment work, because it's the first time we have equipment. So it's letting you know that once you pay the cost, and then attach this to a unit you control. The reason it says that is because this is the first gear that we see that has a cost that isn't just a resource. It's not just pay an energy or pay a power. It is pay a power and do something. So it's saying pay all the costs of the kill something and pay a power, attaches to a unit you control, plus 4 might. Boom. What was the first thing I said? One of the first things I said in this video. Victor sucks. Blue yellow sucks. Why it suck? Can't kill 4 might unit. Congratulations, we just found a way to kill 4 might unit. We found a way to kill 5 might unit, and we found a way to start holding for 5 might and make our Renata do well, our Victors do well and stuff. This is just 3 energy, 2 power on turn 3. Or sorry, not turn 3, on turn as early as turn 2. What you can do is on turn 1, let's say you went second, you played a 2-drop and a token. You made a token with Victor. Okay, cool. Turn 2, you have 5 energy. You can just go play Victor, play this, attach, it's fine. Even on going first, you can go turn 1 with Victor, play a token in your base. You don't have to play 2-drops in your deck because you're Victor. So you play a token. Cool. Turn 2, you have 4 energy. You go 1 energy, make a second token. So you have the ready token in your base from turn 1. You have an exhausted token that you just played turn 2. You have 3 energy left. You just play Blade of the Rune King. It costs you a power. You pay a second power. You kill the exhausted token. You buff up your ready token. You attack in for 5. What are decks doing about that? Like, you just have 5 might there. Congratulations. You have a 5 might unit on turn 2 defending. That's hard to deal with. Not impossible to deal with, because things like Darius exist and Jinx exist, Of course, other decks are also going to get access to these gears. But 5 might turn 2, that's why Tempo Yi was broken, because Yi was just playing a green Poro and throwing it onto a battlefield and saying, hey, you can't get over my 5 might, Poro on turn 2. So that's why I'm just going to start dominating this early meta. That's kind of what this says. Of course, this not only doesn't help, but actively hurts Victor's or blue-yellow's second issue. It fixes the first issue of how do we kill a 4 might unit consistently and efficiently. Here you go. You just have a permanent buff that for 1 energy and 1 power is what this reads. If you're playing Victor, this effectively says 1 energy and 1 power. Attach it to a unit you control. Again, you don't look at cards literally sometimes. Look at cards like how they're going to play out, and it helps you. When you're in Victor, you pay 1 energy to make a token that you're going to kill, and then 1 power. So 1 energy, 1 power attached to something. That helps you kill big dudes. This helps you get over 4 might units consistently, bigger than 4 might units, because you can attach this to a 2 might unit, 3 might unit, whatever. Right? It gets really good all of a sudden. It turns your sprite tokens into 7 might attackers and 7 might defenders. It's really nice. And then the token dies to temporary, so you get to reattach it to an actual unit that you want to. However, it does not fix the second issue, which is, and it actively hurts it, which is blue and yellow is extremely power hungry early on. Again, this is something that Renata might try and help fix. However, the curves I'm explaining to you that make this card very good are again in Victor, where you're guaranteed to have a unit early, but then also you can have a 1 energy unit early, which Renata doesn't do because there aren't 1 energy units, right? So it's going to be interesting. It just makes having a seal in your opening hand either like just that much more back-breaking or game-determining. If Victor already plays 3 seals, and if you open with seal in Victor, your deck is actually like not a bad deck. It's a playable deck. You still can't kill a 4-might unit, so your deck sucks. But if you have this, for example, like if this card was printed in Origins, it would basically just say, open the game with a seal in your hand and your deck is extremely good and probably broken, just the best deck in the game, or don't have a seal in your opening hand and you're still bad because you will never get more than 5 runes in play because you're constantly having to pay a power every turn you want to make something big enough to kill a 4-might unit. Of course, now we're going to have gear tokens. We're going to have some units. So last thing we're going to go over here are the units. There's not a lot, but we see here in blue, we'll start because that's what we're talking about, is Plunder Poro. We see these units that can make gold tokens, which is really interesting. Plunder Poro is by far the best Poro in the game, if it is not one of the best 2-drops in the game. Of course, a lot to see. As of right now, this is looking like the best 2-drop in the game. Like move aside Raven Bloom Student, Plundering Poro is it. You know, on my Metafy, which go check out my Metafy, by the way, my lowest tier for subscribers, the $5 tier, I named it Ravenbloom Student. I'm going to have a bigger tier coming soon with a lot more perks, including, like, this was not supposed to be an ad, by the way, or a shill, but a bigger tier that's going to have things like once a week game reviews, group call sessions, private Discord, all this type of stuff to help you prep for tournaments and weeklies and improve you with a small group of people. And I think I'm going to name it Plunder Poro because this card is just amazing. This card is insane. 2 energy, 2-might unit on par. But it says when I conquer, play a gold gear token. Obviously exhausted, but just get a power. Get a token that gives you a power. What? Is this real? This card is so silly. Like, this card is so silly. Obviously, I'm not going to say it's giga super broken. Like, maybe getting a gear token that early is not that broken, but it looks very broken. It looks very, very, very strong. There's a lot of really cool combos you can do already with it, including with the 3-might blue unit that says when you play a gear, ready me. So you do things like play this on turn 1. You play the 3. Let me find the card I'm talking about because you guys probably don't even know this card exists. You guys probably don't even know this card exists. But Pit Crew, 3 energy, 3 might when you play a gear, ready me. So you play Poro on turn 1. You play Pit Crew on turn 2. You conquer up with Poro. Or you move up with Poro, it conquers an open battlefield. You played a gear, you played the gold token, which is a gear. So that means you get to ready the Pit Crew, move Pit Crew into a battlefield, conquer that one. You start with 2 points. You're also playing Ari, so now your opponent can't attack into you well because your 3-might unit effectively defends for 4 and your 2-might unit effectively defends for 3. And there's not a lot of 1-might units that can deal with that stuff, right? So it's looking very strong. So with this in your blue-yellow deck, again, this is going to be something that fixes your blue-yellow problem, is ways to make gear tokens not by turn 3, Renata. Going to be really interesting to look at. Draven, we got a whole bunch of Draven package going in. 2 things to take from this. 1, we have a second red Draven champion unit, which is really cool. From my understanding, I did not get this confirmed. I assume it works this way, but both of them say champion unit, both of them say Draven. Even though they are both red, I believe you can play either Draven in your chosen champion zone, which is really cool, because I was worried when I saw that Draven was going to be released that maybe we weren't going to get a bunch of like new cards. Anytime we got a new legend, I was going to have to worry like, oh, if we got a Mundo legend in set 5, does that mean we're only going to get 1 new Mundo champion because we have a blue Mundo? It doesn't look like that, which is super sick. So it looks like every time we get a legend, we are going to get a new unique champion unit for them in each of their colors still, even if there was already a champion unit printed for them in a previous set, which I think is just absolutely amazing. But yeah, so Draven here is another banger of a unit. Draven is looking strong. I'm getting PTSD, of Jinx when we first saw Riftbound and everyone tried to Jinx and was like, oh, Jinx is broken, Jinx is aggro, Rocket is broken, Red Jinx broken, like all this stuff. They're doing the same thing again with Red Purple with Draven, and it's hilarious, and I just don't want it to fall flat this time because Falling Star exists. But if you notice, this guy has 4 might. We now have permanent buffs from equipment. Also, he doesn't have 4 might, he has 6 might. Draven says, when I win a combat, play a gear token exhausted. So already, when you win a combat, if you're playing Draven Legend, Draven deck, when you win a combat, you now get a golden gear token, and you're going to draw a card. And to help you win that combat, on top of all your purple tools and combat tricks, it just says, when I attack or defend, you may pay a red power. If you do, give me +2 might this turn. So on both, when you attack, he's a 6 might unit. When someone attacks you, he's a 6 might unit. If you win those, he generates you gold tokens, and then obviously you can't use them the turn they come in, which is why people were kind of going crazy originally. So you can't like go in, attack, win, get a gold token. When they attack you, just sack the gold token, defend, get the gold token back, and just pay 1 total power to both attack and defend. It doesn't work that way. But if you do get to untap the next turn with that gold token, well, now you do just, it pays for itself. That gold token paid for the power that you use to make Draven big and win. This card looks really strong. It looks very solid. We'll have to see, the rest of the purple red package, but it's looking great. Second thing we'll go is Draven's biggest fan. If you remember Legends of Runeterra, this little guy's name was Draven's biggest fan. He just said when you play him, you just summon a Draven, like you put Draven on top of your deck. He is awesome, so I'm glad to see him still in Draven's colors. And he says, overzealous fan, when I defend, you may kill me to move an attacking unit to its base. Let me repeat that. This card says 2 energy, 2 might. When I defend, win a combat, because your opponent's going to attack in with a big unit, and you are just going to kill your 2-drop and say move your 20 trillion might unit back to base. Okay, well now I win the combat, so I'm going to draw a card, and if you had a Draven, a red Draven there, you're also going to make a gold token. That's kind of silly. Another really thing I like about this, a big thing, is it is a 2-drop unit, 2 mana, 2 might unit. That people play in, but it's really hard to play enough 2-drops to have a consistent early curve, but then you don't want to draw 2-drops later on. This is a 2-drop that has an ability that you don't have hating later on. If you top deck this card on turn 6, you're not going to be that upset because you're just going to use your other cards to conquer, and then you're just going to play Overzealous Fan onto a battlefield. And if your opponent isn't playing any type of kill spells or damaging spells, when they attack into you, you can just sacrifice your biggest fan to move their unit back. And it's a really, really solid, extremely face-up and interactable combat trick, but it's a really nice way to make a 2-drop unit that doesn't feel bad to draw in the late game, and I think Riot is doing a really good job at printing those. Same with Plundering Poro. It's a 2-drop that in the late game, if it helps conquer, you can get some value. Like in the mid game, in the late game, it comes a lot, not nearly as good. Early game, it's broken. Mid game, it's still, good. In the late game, it's bad. This card is one where early game, it's, not very broken. It's just a 2 might, or 2 energy, 2 might unit. But in the mid game and then late game, it becomes really broken because it's just a very solid combat trick. And the last unit here is Lucian. So Lucian, I think, is a legend we're actually getting. So it looks like he's going to be orange, potentially orange, yellow, orange, red, not sure. But he is going to be orange. He is a weapon master, so I assume this is going to be the option for a chosen champion as well. This is not his epic version, it's just his rare version. It's weapon master, so when you play me, equip equipment for 1 power less. He says the first time I conquer each turn, ready me. So it's kind of like Purple Jinx on Zonwarrens, which is really silly, where you move her in, you conquer, you discard a card, she readied, you move her back, and you just get to bounce in and out and protect them and keep them safe. Lucian just protects himself. You just play him as 3 energy. He doesn't have a power cost. He's kind of smaller on 3 might side, but again, we're playing equipment. You can equip him, make him a little bit bigger, move him in, he conquers. Okay, cool. You just ready him, move him back. Or if you're playing Windswept Hillock, you can move in, conquer, ready him, gank over to the side, score 2 points in 1 turn. Extremely solid play patterns, right? But the biggest thing is that he keeps himself safe, and then he allows you to, he's weapon master, which means you can equip one of your equipment to me for 1 power less if it's already attached. This is a play ability, so it says when you play me, you may equip it. So this isn't like, I saw some people mentioning, that like equipment, if you just like have 6 equipment in play and they all have 1 power cost, that you just play a weapon master unit and you just equip everything. Like he just like magnetos all the equipment on top of him, and all of a sudden you just have like a 20 might unit for 3 energy. That's not how that works. You can equip a singular unit to him for free the turn you play him, and it's really nice, right? So you can still just like play him, attack in, all that type of stuff. So you can play an equipment on turn 1 or whenever, play him on turn 2, immediately attach over, so he's bigger, doesn't die to Falling Star now, which is really big, and then you can start attacking in and readying and stuff like that, which is really sick. So I'm excited for Lucian. If that's what his chosen champion does, or what one of his champions does, that you can potentially make a chosen champion, I'm actually super duper duper looking forward to Lucian. I think he's a legend. I don't know if that was like confirmed or not, or just speculated, but super excited. We do have a couple of spells that we will go over, and I think that is the last thing. I think there's 2 spells, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, 2 spells we'll go over, and then that'll be the end of the video. I know it's a real long one, but again, I love talking. I get so excited for Riftbound and cards, and I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I hope you guys are as excited as I am for this. I just love talking. So 2 spells so far. So one was with the original reveals called Feral Strength, 2 energy reaction. So you can play at any time. It's 2 energy plus 2 might, on par with Discipline, but it doesn't draw you a card. Why is it better than Discipline? Because it has Repeat. Repeat says 2 energy. You may pay the additional cost to repeat this card's effect. So it has Repeat 2, meaning for another 2 energy, you get to repeat the spell's effect. If it said Repeat 1, then you would only have to spend 1 energy, and all of a sudden this is a 3 energy plus 4. If it said Repeat 5, that means you have to spend 5 energy to repeat it again. I don't know what the cadence of. I would assume that most of the time repeat cost would be, the same as the spell if it seems fairly balanced. If the repeat cost is less than the spell, that means it's probably overcost originally and you only ever want to repeat it. And if the repeat cost costs more than the original cost of the spell, that means that the spell is probably extremely strong, and you shouldn't really be allowed to repeat it unless you've set yourself up in a way to have all of those resources. This effectively says 2 energy plus 2, but it scales better into the late game where you have a bunch of energy, you need more than plus 2. This becomes a 4 energy plus 4. Of course, we have Primal Strength, which is a 4 energy plus 7, but it costs a power, and it's action speed. This is reaction speed, 4 energy plus 4. Or again, if you just need it to be the 2 energy plus 2, 2 energy plus 2. Very solid card. I'm really excited. I really like this repeat mechanic. Big note, you can only do this once. You can only pay repeat cost 1 time, so it's not like if you have 12 energy, you can pay it for 2 and then repeat it 5 times. You can only repeat 1 time, so it's not like, it's not insane. It's not like you can just pass with infinite mana up. Don't worry about that. You can only repeat it once, but it's still strong. It's a very solid spell. I think this is better than On Guard. I think you would drop On Guard and play Feral Spirit now, for sure, just to have the 4 energy. Of course, depends on curves and all that, but Feral Strength is very solid. And then the big one this got revealed today is Here to Help. This card is interesting. It is a 2 energy, 1 power spell, action speed. You may play a unit from your hand to a battlefield you control, reducing its cost by 3 energy. So if you just play it from your hand, you effectively reduce the cost of a unit in your hand by 1 energy. You still have to pay all the power cost and everything, but you're paying 2 energy to reduce it by 3. So big example would be Deadbloom Predator. It's just the easiest orange card that everybody knows. Deadbloom Predator would become effectively 7 overall energy because you would pay 2 to make him only cost 5. So then you pay the 5, that's 7. So he's 7 energy, 3 power, played to a battlefield you control. Obviously that's not good, but you get the idea. But the big thing here is this card has Hidden. So you can hide for 1 power on a battlefield you control and then react later for 0 energy. This does 2 extremely big things. One, it lets you just play a unit for 3 less cost than you're supposed to be able to play it for. So now you can play Deadbloom Predator for 5. You can play Volley Bear for 9. Like, you can play Mountain Drake for 6. These 3 energy is a lot of energy. That's a lot of energy. So just reducing it by 3 energy straight up is crazy. The crazier thing is hidden is reaction speed. So you can react to your opponent doing something, whether that's react to them attacking into you, if it's reacting to them just playing a card or a spell, you can react to that by just reaction speed playing a unit. You can reaction speed play a Mind Splitter on your opponent's turn in response to them doing anything. If they try to attack into you, you can reaction speed in a Volley Bear for 9 mana now because you reduced it by 3. So 9 energy, 2 power, play Volley Bear. Sounds good. You know, obviously that's a really big example, but Mountain Drake, 6 energy, pull in 10 might. Sounds good. You know, like having 6 energy open in an orange type deck isn't going to be too crazy. You can play a lot of combat tricks for 6 energy, especially if you're like an orange purple deck that we were seeing with Misfortune, like the Misfortune Aurora decks. You know, they want to hold open some energies for all their combat tricks. Here's another combat trick that they have open for you now. It's like now not only do you have to worry about them having the Gust, the Bullet Time, the Rebukes, the Fighter Flights, the whatever, you know, they're playing, but now you have to worry, are they going to use that 6 energy or 4 energy to just play a 7 might unit? Because for 4 energy, you can play a Mind Splitter. So you just reaction speed to something, play a Mind Splitter, and then take a card out of their hand. That sounds really good, you know? This card looks really, really silly. Of course, it's defiable, so you can defy it and just kind of counter all of it. It is still action speed, so it has to be to a battlefield you control. So there's a lot of limitations to it, but it does look really sick. At the very least, it looks really cool. It looks really fun. It looks kind of scary, but we'll see how it ends up turning out. But that's all the cards from Spiritforged that we have revealed so far on today's November 17th when I'm recording this. So I'm excited. The set looks cool, equipment look super cool, and these legends look really cool. The legends in general look really cool. I'm super excited. I know we just got set 1, unfortunately. The release cadence is kind of off between us and China. I know Riot said they're going to work on syncing them up, and I can't wait for when they do, because I just get so hyped for these cards and then realize I have to wait until February to play them, and it makes me a little sad, but either way, it's still just super, super sick and super exciting to get new cards. And the speed at which we're getting sets, I think, is every 3 months is what they said. We're getting like 4 sets a year, so 1 a quarter is absurd. I'm super excited about that. And yeah, or is it 4 months? Sorry, it might be it's either 3 sets a year or 4 sets a year. It's either once every 3 or 1 every 4 months. But either way, I'm excited. Obviously I'm excited. I spent an hour and a half talking about cards, so that's it. I'm not gonna keep you guys much longer. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what cards you're excited for, champions you're excited for, or any type of mechanics that you've seen that you're excited for or hope come into the game. That's gonna be it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next one.